Hi, this is Erin and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage, and we are here today to talk to you guys about safety, especially when it comes to international travel.
Yeah, this is a story we wanted to bring to you guys for a few weeks now. We had some speakers and guests booked, so we wanted to handle those shows, but right now we want to bring you this show because we think it's very important. And we never romanticize traveling abroad. We tell people we travel abroad, there's opportunities and things like that, and we always will bring you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unfortunately, today we're going to talk about the ugly. And we want to talk about a young man, 29-year-old young man from Long Beach, California. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, his name is Maurice Colbert. He was traveling to a place called Rosarito, Mexico with friends of his. And some things happen. It's undocumented. We can't get the straight story on it. But eventually, the young man ended up losing his life. And there's a lot of questions and that need to still be answered. And these are some of the dangers. So I'll let Erin bring up the story. We're going to share our screen and you'll hear the news story. Then we'll go into what happened.
Family and friends laid Maurice Colbert to rest last Saturday, but there's no rest for Colbert's family, who don't understand how a healthy 29-year-old could just drop dead. They also say the U.S. Embassy, the Rosarito police, and the bar where he died, they've been no help.
My son didn't deserve this. He was a good, outstanding person.
Every mother grieves the death of a child, but Evangela Thomas's grief is riddled with questions. 29-year-old Maurice Colbert traveled to Rosarito Beach, Mexico for the long Labor Day weekend. He and his friends were at Papa's and Beer, a popular place for tourists to party.
They were standing at the bar and they were having conversation with these young ladies and the people at the bar. And he took a sip out of a drink and just collapsed.
Colbert's friends yelled for help.
No one was trying to help my son. They just moved them out the way. Like I said earlier, drug him outside and threw him in the alley.
The friends say, even when the ambulance arrived, there was no effort to resuscitate Maurice, and they weren't allowed to accompany him to what turned out to be the morgue.
A horrendous, devastating event for our family.
Well, adding to the family's grief, they had to do their own investigation to find his body. And then when it was time to bring him home, his mom claims the morgue charged extra fees that felt like extortion. At the family's insistence, the police are investigating this death as a homicide. By the way, there's a GoFundMe on our website, foxla.com. And you know what's interesting about it is not just asking for funds, as is typical, but also information that might help them figure out how he died.
And he's
Okay, so that's the short story and what we know of Maurice Colbert and what happened to him over the Labor Day weekend there in Rosarito, Mexico. So that's what this episode is about. It's going to be a little bit off. We always talk about wealth and assets, arbitrage. So we're going to divert a little bit today, just because we think this is information we need to get out there to the people, because we always, like we said, we like to encourage traveling abroad. So I'll start from here. We usually encourage people to travel abroad. And it's usually in a sense of finding an arbitrage or with your family, better quality of life, cheaper cost of living, leveraging the dollar against a weaker currency. And so that's how we try to frame the traveling portion of it. Did you want to say anything?
No, because I feel like you're going to get to what I'm going to say.
Which is what?
I was just going to say how you travel.
Oh, how you travel. Yeah, so it's about being safe out here. We don't want to make it seem like these places are paradise. Nothing can happen to you. There's trouble all over the world. So you have to just be careful. You have to be careful in your travels, and understand things like that. But go ahead and say what you're gonna say, and then I'll get off on the other portion.
So I'm going to say something, and I hope I don't upset, offend, or trigger anyone, because nowadays it's like if you say this, people get upset. But we live in a world based on perception. That's just the world we live in.
Yep.
And when you travel single, the world perceives you a certain way. When you travel with your spouse, the world sees you a different way. When you travel with your family, the world sees you in a completely different way.
Okay.
And unfortunately, when you were traveling, we talk about this all the time. Everybody is laser focused on you, and you can't possibly be laser focused on everybody. You stick out like a sore thumb, especially when you are Black and doing well, right? The fact that you can move around different countries fairly effortlessly because of the opportunity that you created for yourself in the United States, you're going to stick out. Multiple people are going to notice you, and yet you don't necessarily notice these other people. People are curious about you. When you are single, man or woman, but especially men, the women are laser focused because they're looking, especially in third world countries, they are looking for that come up.
Yeah, so let me go on right there. And because and this isn't something I knew about, but I come across stuff, my son tells me stuff. So there's been a rise of a faction of group of, I guess, men, and they're calling themselves passport bros. I guess it's like a faction outside of MGTOW, which I didn't even know what that was for a long, long time. And so for people who don't know, MGTOW stands for Men Go Their Own Way. And then there was a new genre where it was P-MGTOW, which means they had passports and men went their own way. So now they got straight up passport bros. So basically, single men in the United States who are going abroad internationally looking for women, right? So that is part of the safety issue that she was just talking about. Like I said, we always talk about it as an arbitrage, building a family business, investment, and things of that nature. But now what you're having is people, and I'm not saying that young man was a passport bro and him and his friends or anything like that. But what I am saying is there's a movement of people doing this, and they're going abroad looking for women. I'm just speaking to the men right now. And I'm not saying you can't do that. You do whatever you feel you need to do, but you have to understand the level of danger that is involved in that. There's an extra level of danger. Right, as we go out as a family, there's a level of danger, so you have to be cognizant of that. But as you go out and you're out late at night, you're drinking, you're talking to women, there's an extra added level of danger. You heard in that story, she said he took a drink, they were talking to women, and all of a sudden he fell out. So, let's keep it real. This is a real conversation. Let's keep it real. So one thing, these are young Black men from the United States. So anytime you're from the United States, you will be seen as wealthy or having money. I'm not making this a thing about Mexico or any other country, but typically you can't go to other people's communities. The men don't like you dealing with their women and taking their women, however you want to call it. That's not just a Mexican thing. You see that when you grew up in neighborhoods, you couldn't go to the alternate neighborhood without having problems. So you have to be cognizant of this stuff as you're traveling around, right? Two, and that's a male ego thing, right? So you have to know that, right? They're not gonna like you. There was a story a few years ago about a gentleman, he was a military officer who went to, it was somewhere in Europe, and he was over there and it was Greece, yep. He was talking to women in the club. They ended up It took him outside, stomped him out, and they killed him. They don't want you doing that. So we talk about with these opportunities of abroad, we say go where you're treated best, right? And I'm still talking to my brothers out there. Go where you're treated best, and you'll be treated better in other places than maybe the United States or whatever your home country is. You have opportunities all around the world. But remember, you are still a Black man, and you have to keep that in mind, right? You're out here, you're shining, you're looking good, you got money, your sneakers is tight, whatever, your outfit's nice, you got a nice watch, maybe driving a nice car. That breeds jealousy in some of these places. And a lot of time people will tell you, lay low, you're doing too much and this, and you'd be like, no, I'm just doing my normal thing. But it turns into things like this, right? And fortunately, he was traveling with some people, so maybe we can get some answers. But a lot of times I'm in these Facebook groups and social media groups where people are traveling alone to these other countries. And I always, I'm not a big fan of that, I would say, right? You should travel with some people, so people know what's going on, people know your whereabouts, people know, if you're having trouble, anything can happen. It might not have to be nefarious. You could just get sick, you could get hurt, you could get in a car accident. So people know where you are, and where you're at. And a lot of people like to travel and just don't want anybody to know where they are, so they can lay low and But if something happens, nobody knows where you're at, and nobody knows where to look for you at. So and we talked about this. We had mentioned it many times with our good brother Timothy Reed in Colombia. So he was over there trying to do business, but he also was tied up in a situation with a woman where it ultimately led to his death. So this is a thing, right? Safety, I'm gonna go to her. Safety is part of your wealth, right? You have to be safe, right? You're out here and you getting your grind on, you're stacking, you're investing, you're stacking your sats, you're getting your silver, you're doing all these things. But you have to remain safe, because if anything happens and you get harmed, it slows down your money train, right? Now you're out the game. I'll talk about a celebrity. I'll go to Aaron. So Aaron will tell you about what happened when somebody like Beyonce was harmed. She's being protected by bodyguards and this thing. And so her safety is paramount. What happens when she got harmed?
Oh, I don't, for those of you who know, I can't remember what year it was, but a man,
Sure.
a savage, pulled Beyonce off the stage, and it resulted in her tearing her hamstring. Her husband, who was pissed, fired the entire security team.
Right.
The whole team got fired, even those who were off that day. Were off that day. And hired the NOI to secure his life.
And so what that means is, because Beyonce's safety was compromised, and she, you say tore her hamstring?
She tore her hamstring. The way he pulled her off that sharp stage.
Okay, so now she has to, recover, and she can't get her money, slowed her money train down, right? And I'm not saying but I'm just saying she can't get out there and get it like she wanted to, because her safety was compromised and then she was injured. That's why safety is paramount in your wealth building process when you're out here. And that's at the highest level. Her husband's a billionaire. So we're just talking about, average Joes, everyday people trying to get it out here. If you get injured, because of some situation where, of a safety issue, and we're not talking about you have to be killed, but anything can happen. And then now all of a sudden, maybe you can't go to work, or you can't do or get your grind in like you usually do. It's going to slow down your process of getting money and building wealth. So safety is paramount. It is paramount.
I do want to say this too. I don't know if you guys heard, but she said that the establishment is not being cooperative in helping solve it. So here's what I want to say. He took a sip and he fell out. What I suspect was supposed to happen is he was going to kind of be out of it. The girls were going to go back to wherever they were and be able to rob them in an inebriated state. Maybe the dosage was too high. Maybe it's a dosage they're used to giving, and he had an adverse reaction to it, right? I'm speculating now. But the fact that he took a sip of the drink and fell out lets me know that I believe the young ladies had the intention of getting them inebriated enough to go back, make them think, hey, yeah, we're gonna kind of do something. And we have a famous female rapper, I'm not gonna say her name, but many of you heard this famous female rapper when she used to be a stripper. That's what they used to do. They would get the guys inebriated, they would drug them, go back to thinking, you know, they're gonna get these fringe stripper benefits, go back to the hotel or wherever they're gonna go, and then rob them of their wallet, their jewelry, their shoes, sometimes even their clothes. So this is not an indictment on all women, because I notice nowadays when people say stuff on social media, people take it to the ultimate level. I am not saying all women are like this, but I am saying that there is a huge subset of women who are, this is what they do, this is how they are, and due to their impoverished state, they feel like they have to do whatever it takes to get what they need. They become mercenaries. So when you're traveling, especially single men, single good-looking men with money, like the more boxes you can check in that category, if you're engaging, if you're funny, and you keep adding all of these boxes, you are a huge target. You have more than one woman now competing to see what she can get from you.
Yes.
There was a gentleman on our Facebook timeline. He had went to the Dominican Republic. And he's an older gentleman, he's about 50 or 60. And he was just saying how turned off he was by how the minute they got to I think it was a restaurant bar, is what I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
The minute they got to the restaurant bar, the women were like a flock of birds to him. Okay, this is an older gentleman, he's 56 years old. It's not like he's 20 or 30 and he's got on flashy jewelry. He's very
unassuming.
Unassuming, that's a good word, right? And he's very down to earth. So, you know, he just has on a t-shirt, some khaki pants, some flip-flops, right? There's nothing flashy about him.
Right.
But these women spent the whole night trying to figure out how they can get something. Can I get a free meal from you? Can I get a free drink from you? Do you want me to go back to your Airbnb with you? I'll, you know, provide certain services to you. And multiple, like it was 2, 3 of them willing, we'll all go back with you and we'll all provide services to you. He was very turned off by that. So just understand, and even when we went to Puerto Rico and I'm watching them watch him while I sit with them. So they're trying to figure out, you know, maybe I can make your wife mad enough where she'll go off somewhere and I can try to get you to go somewhere. Like they're planning and they're plotting.
Yeah.
On the inverse, you do have women, right? It's big in Africa. There's a lot of women who travel to Africa for Black men, right? I won't turn this into a X-rated site, but they're traveling for specific services from men. It's a lot of white women who are doing it. They have a lot of money. I don't know if they have affluence, but they have money. And they'll feed the men, they'll take the men out. The men can spend time in their beautiful cabanas and so on and so forth. Sometimes they'll even marry the men because then they'll have that service consistently. Right. So the problem is, though, when that is what the intention is, people are going to pray and they're going to try to find their own arbitrage in that thing against you. So now it becomes predatory.
Yeah, so, and like she's saying, if people traveling singly, you know, you'll find yourself in different areas than somebody maybe who's traveling with a significant other and or a family, right? For example, we'll move around as a family, as a couple, and you know, you're in different places. If you got your kids, you're going to a different type of place, different type of areas, you know, with your whole family, your entire family, than you would if you were just single and moving around. And so there, like I said, it comes that different layer of danger, right? And so just our word was just for everybody to be cautious as you move around out here, right? Even like she was talking about the men, so, you know, and conversely, you have to speak about the women. As far as, you know, I see a lot of people in the groups, women traveling by themselves and things like that. You have to be safe out here. You know, you have to be safe. You know, they're looking for soft targets, easy targets, people who don't know the language, maybe, you know, great. And so they'll just kind of target you. And I'm not saying for like the ultimate end of homicide, but still just target you, you steal something from you, get something from you, get anything from you that they can. And that's not a thing. We're not just saying that's Mexico. So that could be anywhere, any country in the world, right? So safety is paramount. I will keep saying that because it is part of your wealth building process, right? You go over these places, you're trying to catch that arbitrage, build up, and you get caught slipping. Now he got caught slipping to the ultimate end where he ended up losing his life. But it doesn't even have to go that far. People lose their passports, get stolen. Jewelry, money, electronics, and stuff like that. Precious metals, if you will. These things get stolen. If you get caught slipping. So you want to be on top of your game. Make sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to move around these countries, investing, looking for property, even on that level, if you're trying to buy some property, you get caught slipping and get ripped off and things like that. So like I said, we're going to bring you the good, bad, and the ugly. And this is just the ugly portion. It's not banging on anybody. It's just the truth. It's just the truth when you get out here and you're moving around, you're trying to do your thing. This is why we built up a network of people that we can, need to talk to so-and-so because that's a solid guy or she's solid, and they'll get you the right information and get you going the right way. That's why we're building up a network where things have been vetted out so that you can feel comfortable and making the move or doing whatever it is that you want to do without just doing it, dealing with people, because you got a lot of slick talkers out here. Everybody got a smile on, but you don't know what their real intention is. So, that's why we got to stay on code, stay together, and do what we need to do for each other.
I want to make a point to that very point. That's why I pointed. You made a point.
Okay, I made a point.
It's a weird human behavior, but I've noticed it a lot here in Mexico.
Oh.
And it's not just Mexico. I notice people do it when they travel. You run into somebody who will let your guard down because they're knowledgeable about the area and you don't realize they're fast talking. I can tell you about an interesting thing that happened when we went to Cuba. So we went to Cuba, and in Cuba they speak Spanish. For those of you who don't know, I was 18 months pregnant. I had my baby 2 weeks later. That lets you know just how far along I was. But we had the trip planned for Cuba for a long time, so I wanted to take the opportunity. We met this gentleman. Really nice guy, nicest guy you'll ever meet. He didn't speak native English, but his English was top tier in excellence, right? So that kind of let our guard down a little bit. Thank God my wifey senses started kicking in. I'm looking like, anyway. So we were gonna go to dinner one night, and Simon just tells the guy, hey, I'm gonna take my wife to dinner. She's pregnant, she has these cravings. Why don't you join us? And I'll buy you, our family will buy you dinner. We'll sit down, we'll talk. He gave us the story about he has a wife and he has a child, and they live like in the projects in Cuba. So we go to dinner, and him and my husband are chit-chatting. He orders the most expensive meal on the menu. I say nothing, I just sit back. It wasn't a big deal, right? When he did it, I just laughed when he did it. Like, did say you was gonna buy dinner. So the man shot his shot, right? And Simon, he wasn't even thinking, whatever you want. So he orders a meal, and I sit and I watch him, and he ate the entire meal. Now, ladies, let me tell you something. I know they have these weird conversations on the internet, but my husband is a man who wants his children and his wife to eat first. My husband will not take a bite of food until I have my food and I start to eat. So as I'm sitting and watching, I'm saying, this man saying he's the husband, he didn't save any of that food for his wife. No. Now, my husband would have ordered the meal and not touched it. I'm gonna take this home for Aaron, I'm gonna take it home for Sean and the kids. And you could just see the contrast in husbands at this point. So now I'm questioning if he is a husband at all, right? I'm starting to realize, like, I think he's running game on us to see, what he could get out of us. Earlier that day, I think we bought popsicles or something for the kids, and he got a popsicle or whatever. And I said, oh, okay, so you're a hanger-on, right? I'm getting it now. And he's kind of lulling us to sleep because in the process of getting stuff from us, he is giving us a historic, he knew everything about the history of Cuba. We went on a ride. He was able to tell us about the days of Castro. He was able to tell us about communism, how it, I mean, to like a postdoctorate degree level.
Yeah, and so on that, you might have to, I don't want to call it luxury tax, but you'll come across that where you come across people and it's transaction. This person's going to do something. We'll come across people who will drive us around, tell you stuff, but you know, you're going to be taxed. You'll pay a little bit more for their services because they'll be, you know, hey, I'll pick you up whenever you're ready, this, that, and the third. So you will pay a little bit more for the luxury because that's slightly predatory. Like he wasn't gonna like rob us.
No.
Just trying to see what we can get out of you.
But I don't mind that. I'm just saying how, and I'm talking about me, right? My guard was let down when I got the story about the wife and the child and how hard life is in Cuba. I'm going to show you what makes life hard in Cuba as we drive around, stuff like that. Like my guard was let down with the sob story and with his expertise level knowledge of the country and of things we needed to know while we were in the country. And I'm saying that this is something that I think happens to a lot of travelers. You'll run into that one person who will find a way to let your guard down. And then it's just that I just happen to be a person who's going to sit and watch you. I noticed that the actions weren't lining up with the sob stories you were giving me. And
understand, and like we said, a lot of these things we talk about they were intertwined, right? We did a show a while back about pocket watching, and these are the levels of pocket watching you'll see. Like she said, oh, let me see if I can just get in there and give you my story and then help you out and show you around town, drive you around. I'll charge you a premium that I couldn't really charge a local, and you'll pay it because it doesn't even seem like that much to you, but then you'll get to the highest level of pocket watching, like we just talked about with Maurice, where they'll kill you, Timothy Reed, to where they'll kill you. So there's different levels of pocket watching. You know, we did the show, you know, trying to just let people know that it goes on, and but it can go on to a level, a dangerous level, very dangerous level.
I want to tell one more story. We live here in Mexico, and we feel like we've been here for a while, so we have a pretty good gauge on the community we live in. And every now and then I am not pleasantly surprised, but like, okay. Simon wanted to get the truck washed, but he kind of wanted to get it like almost detailed. He wanted to get the headlights with the fogginess out of it and get the tires cleaned and stuff like that. This was yesterday, 2 days ago. And the guy that we normally go to had a big semi, and we knew that was going to take 3-4 hours for him to clean. As we were coming back home, we noticed a new car wash was open. Notice I used the word new. So I said, hey, let's stop here and get the car washed. It looks like he can do the same thing. He had, you know, the hydro wash and stuff like that. So I said, okay. So we pull in. As we're getting the car wash, we realize the gentleman speaks native English. He's from California. And as we were talking, he said, I'm glad you came by because I noticed you always go to the guy across the way. When we go to the guy across the way, we're not walking, we're in a vehicle driving by you. This is a new car wash. How long have you been watching us go to the guy across the way? We don't even get out the car when the car gets washed.
Right.
And you know, Simon and I just kind of looked at each other like, here goes a brand new person we don't realize is watching us, and we are completely unaware of this person too. In the middle of the conversation, he says, well, how are you guys liking, you know, your development? He knew exactly where we lived. So you just kind of like, I've never met you before. This is the first time we're having a conversation. You know where we get our car wash. We don't know why. You know where we live. We don't know why. And you have to be on high alert all the time because there are people who are watching you, who know your goings and comings. Thank goodness we are not people who are out at night and we're in the club and we're at the bar and we're where people have access to us. You want access to me, we're getting a car wash, or I'm at the supermarket like any other mom, right? So these are things we want you guys to keep in mind when you travel.
Yeah, these are, and so like I say a lot about the places we've been. I can't speak for everywhere. Places we've been, you gotta, there's not a You got big cities and then you got rural areas. It's not a lot of suburbs in between like you're used to in the United States. So the juxtaposition is you could be in a big city and you could blend in and people can't pick up on everything as much. You'll lose the arbitrage because you'll pay more money for things and basically almost everything. And then you get out in a rural area where you have a smaller town, a smaller place, and then all of a sudden, hey, those are the only, whatever, Black people in the community, so they see you every day. They can see you
everywhere you go.
So, you gotta, I'm gonna say you gotta pick your poison, but, it is all about self-awareness and, knowing what you need from your family, for your family, I should say, for your family. If you want to be in a city, kind of like Mexico City, move around, kind of like Manhattan or something like that, people won't notice you. There's too many people down there. It's 20-something million people. You'll blend in. People will notice you, but you'll blend in. They won't zero in on you. But then you get out to a small area, kind of rural, like we said, farm town, in the mountains, they'll zoom in on you. They'll notice you. And then everybody will notice you. And so, it is, it's not a perfect process. That's why we say go where you're treated best. Take these business trips, these I call them, military style reconnaissance trips to see what's going on. You do recon and say, okay, this would be good for me and my family, or this wouldn't be good, and you try out another place. And that's just it's safety. We just wanted to talk to you guys about safety because you get out here, you get a little, I see people getting a little lazy with it because, like she said, they'll rock you to sleep. Everybody's nice to you, it's cool.
There's some type of commonality between you.
It gets
I'm from
rocked to
that
sleep.
city.
Yeah,
no, they're not.
You get rocked to sleep. Cass is getting rocked to sleep, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm gonna go back in and I'm not banging on my passport bros. Y'all gotta do what you gotta do if that's what you see fit, but understand when you get out here, man, safety is paramount because they know too. They know that there's an influx of men coming to look for women in different countries. So just be careful. That shouldn't. I'm not saying that shouldn't, but if that is your main purpose for going abroad, you may run into some problems.
I want to make a few other points while we're talking about that. When you guys are traveling, if you're going to bars and clubs, they are very dark. It's a place where it's kind of communal. Everybody's close. Everybody has their drink right here. If you just turn your head like this, you don't know what can happen to your drink. And you pick your drink up off the bar and you drink it. Right? Men and women, because you got to remember the women are just as savvy. They're going to drug you, they're going to take you back. And you want to err on the side of caution that they are going to do that. You want to treat everybody like a suspect until they prove themselves innocent. 2, for the men, even if you find a nice woman, she's unassuming, I'm telling you right now, you're about to adopt the whole entire family. Let me make that clear. You about to pay for surgeries. You're about to buy groceries for people. LTO don't have this. Latia doesn't have that. Miss Sabrina needs this. Miss Sabrina needs that. You're about to adopt the whole entire family. Yeah. You also run into the issue where sometimes if that woman, that young lady is integral to the household, she cooks, she cleans, and this and that, her brothers may not want her to go. Right? Her uncles, extended cousins, like you're the one who cooks for us. If you go to America with him, who's feeding us, who's taking care of the house, who's taking care of the children while we're at work? You may run into some angry family members. It's not like when you're dealing with a modern woman. I know how much y'all hate modern women now.
So let me tell you something. If you're going abroad, men and women, if you're going to handle real business, is what we promote, that you go abroad, handle real business. And I think we've mentioned this before, but we'll mention it again. If you get in the community, boom, off the rip, you need to start networking. Start networking and get with some people of influence in the community, right? So maybe some business owners, maybe some people in politics or something like. Get into. That's why we'll share our network with people, because we have people of influence who can help you get where you're going. Get with those people, right? If you're going to be in that community. That way you have a solid person that you can reach out to and say, hey, is this a good, for example, is this a good hospital to go to? Is this a good doctor to use? Is this a good dentist? Is this a good barber? And people so you got to chop it up and get to the nitty gritty about it with the people in the community, right? Because otherwise you don't know. Because if you have the influencer of the community and you say, hey, I'm going over here to do, you know, X, Y, and Z, and they be like, nah, don't go over there with them. I got somebody, you know, who's solid and you can trust in this, that, and the third. So, you know, if you're gonna be in the community for long term, get with some influencers, get with some, you know, some business owners. And, you know, like I said, get with people if you can in politics, get with people in your profession. If you're trying to open up a business, things like that, you have to get with people in the community who know what's going on. Also get with people in the community who look like you, if you can. Like we say, join these groups. You know, you come to Mexico, you hit us up. We in the community. We out there. So we put you on with good game and with people and solid people. You know, we would say, oh no, don't go over there. Actually talk to so-and-so because you know they can hold you down like this. And that's the way you network. You try to build out a network over the entire, we say the entire globe, but you know, we got a little,
typically 1 or 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah, we gotta reach
away from people who can assist you the best way they can.
Right.
But, and we're really talking about single people who are looking to have fun. We're not talking to people who are on business. If you're on business, you do want to operate a certain way, but because you're business minded, you already operate a certain type of way, which is why this isn't really targeted for those people who are trying to operate business-wise in their travel and maybe meet a man or a woman during their travel. I noticed a lot of beautiful young ladies who are scantily clad in Facebook pictures, right? They'll take a selfie, all of this is out, right? It's at the shot where you can just see all of it. And then they'll say something like, hey, I'm in Mexico City this weekend by myself. Who wants to meet up for drinks? So on and so forth. You are asking for trouble. Now, it doesn't mean it always ends in trouble, but that trouble will catch up to you at some point. So we are telling you it's not a good idea to do that. Simon and I say that we're like in dog years, like we're way older than we physically are. So we do things a little bit different. Like I said, when we were dating, the kids think it's hilarious. When we were dating, we weren't texting each other. We physically had to go meet each other. We had to go on a date. He had to either come to my dorm room or call my phone and listen to my voice. People weren't meeting strangers at that time when we met. People weren't meeting strangers and trying to develop a relationship with them. Right. I remember when the show Catfish came out and I'm looking at him like, how is this possible? How are you talking to somebody for 6 months and don't know what they look like with FaceTime, Messenger, and all these different things? So it's a world that's very different from the world when we were dating, and we haven't dated in over 20 years. So we are a little bit out the loop. With that being said, we are asking people not to meet strangers on the internet and then travel internationally to meet them.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you do,
that's not a good idea. And it's a poor investment.
I'm just saying, be safe, be cautious of all the things that you do moving around the globe, because like I said, no matter what, no matter where you go, for the most part, if you're from the United States, they're going to see you as a rich, wealthy individual. And there's something people want to try to get what they can from you. So you have to be, it's got to be cautious in your dealings and moving around, especially if you go to countries that may have, I'm saying third world, but maybe countries that may have, they may be a little bit more poor. You're going to stick out. There's going to be problems if you aren't on your P's and Q's. We all went out there, my brothers out there, we play sports, basketball, football. What they tell you, keep your head on a swivel. So just, just see what's going on all around you, be very cognizant. So I'm just saying for me.
You recommend?
I recommend you guys go out here doing business, investments, making deals, putting in that work. But
and meeting people organically in a more organic fashion.
and meeting people of influence that can help you, and not just meeting
Or maybe
anybody.
refer to you a family who has a single young lady.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So she's already vetted out. Like this young lady, she
Yep.
goes to the university. She's this, she's that, she's the third. I know the family. Like you're not going to run into the problems you would where you just kind of, I was walking down the road and this girl said hello or offered me a cooked meal. I went to her home. She cooked me this. And that's how sometimes men get lulled to sleep, by the femininity, right? And remember, for them, it's a game as well,
Yeah.
right? What can I get out of you? I'm going to tell you all the things you want to hear. I'm going to talk to you softly. I'm going to cook you some food. I'm going to rub your feet. And it may be okay. A lot of times.
Well, it's only okay until it's not, right?
Okay,
I
right.
watch a couple YouTubers. I mean, I don't watch them. I just seen them on my channel. And so I checked out some of their videos, and you got guys, they're out here, man, and in the favelas of Brazil.
Yeah.
They're over here in Venezuela. You know, Venezuela has basically collapsed. These places aren't really safe, right? You know, you think it may be safe for you, but it's only safe till it's not, right? So another thing, so right there, let me go right to another thing, and then you could talk about it too, because you mentioned it. We talked about these single travelers, and I mentioned it earlier, but I just want to make sure that we hammer home this, that when you travel, if you want to travel by yourself and all this, have like somebody who's looking out for you, somebody who knows that if you don't call at this time, or you know, this time every day, hey, it might be a problem. I got to start seeing what's going on, right? You know what I'm saying? You can't, even if you just go by yourself, if it's your mother, it could be your friend, best friend, whatever, whoever it is, have somebody who's looking out for you when you are traveling abroad. Like, I haven't heard from you today. What's going on? Is everything okay? Even it doesn't have to be, like I said, nefarious. You could just have gotten sick, you know, gotten hurt. You know, anything could have happened that wasn't a bad thing, and just say, oh no, I have some problems when I'm good. But have somebody looking for you, because a lot of times you see things going on and nobody's looking for these people, and they just missing. And you know, if you got a person that's like really don't really interact and stuff like that on social media and stuff, so if they're missing for 2 months, you're like, I just haven't heard from them. But you want to, if you're out here, you want somebody knowing where you are, knowing your Airbnb address, so they can check in, you know, and you want people to know where you are as you're moving around, because a lot of people like to move around. They do these things as couch surfing. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, they're going, especially you get to Europe, because you can go from country to country to country. So, hey, let me know if you're, you know, if you're here in this country, let me know the address and who I can call. And then if you're in this country, let me know, so that people can check on you. And if some, you know, if you go missing or something's happening, somebody's looking for you. Because sometimes these people get out here and something happens and nobody's really looking for them, right? If I don't come home and it's dark, I got a whole family looking for me. They're like, hey, and then they're gonna start calling the community influencers and say, hey, can we go out and see what's going on? Did something happen? You know, you could get arrested by the police, taken to some tiny jail, and don't nobody know where you are. So, you know, you got people looking for you and asking about you. So, you know, build up that network also, so that people, you know, will be checking for you, because anything can happen.
So you used the word converse. I said inverse. I meant converse. I'm gonna give you the converse of that. It was a young lady from Kenya who traveled to the United States, and she met a guy. She met a white guy, and they ended up in a relationship. This is like in Wyoming or something, one of those middle states. And she's to iMessage with her family and stuff, and she speaks a different language. Okay, I don't want to say Swahili because I don't know what Kenyans speak, but the mother noticed that the messages were looking crazy. It looked like you were using Google Translate to send us messages. And they could never get the FaceTime with the daughter. And the messages became more and more obvious that their daughter was missing. Their daughter, their niece, their cousin, right? So your whole entire family is in Kenya. You are in Wyoming. I don't know if she was married to the white guy, but they were in a long-term relationship. She simply disappeared. She had over $3,000 in her bank account, which she had taken. The police have, you know, done the detective work. But we just want you guys to know, like I had the story about this is how you got caught internationally, but she is an international traveler. She traveled from Kenya to the United States. It happens everywhere, right? So we just want to bring to your attention how people have a propensity to prey on you if they have the opportunity to do so. When we talk about the passport bros, my son's been kind of looking at it. He likes some of the premise of it. What he doesn't like is how he feels that there's a little bit too much bravado, right? When traveling, we always tell you, I tell you that you should look nice, right? I don't think you should go around in dirty pajamas and tattered sweatshirts. People do go out the house like that. Like, I'm not telling you to do that, but I do dress up when I go out. I do get a different level of service versus when I am wearing a hoodie and sweatpants. But you don't want to do things to stick out, right? I was wearing my pearl necklace a lot, and I noticed that's not a good idea. I realized that very quickly, right? Because everyone was noticing the pearl necklace. It was a real pearl necklace that my husband gifted me. Don't wear it out. Don't let people know you have pearls. Don't let people know you have precious metals. Don't let people know you have both. So now I wear clear as earrings. I have a necklace that I wear. I don't have it on today, but put the pearl necklace away. Wear it when you go to a wedding or something like that. Okay. So try to look nice, but don't be flashy.
And that's a thin line.
It's a real thin line. Cause I thought, it was subtle, but then when people kept mentioning, I said, that's the first thing you guys see when I come out. I have to.
Yeah, because the things that people from the United States may not notice as flashy, because that's just what you wear every day. That's how you get down. They're like, nah, they notice that. Right. So you gotta.
Everybody in the US has a Michael Kors bag. Everybody got, Prada and Gucci. It's not a big deal when you see it. When I'm traveling, it is a big deal. Right? Especially when my husband gifts me these things. I have to remember, like, I know Simon gave this to you and you love it. And you don't want him to think you don't appreciate it, but it's not a good idea to have it out and about like that. It's something we should do on special occasions. So that's one. Two, I noticed that when the gentlemen meet women and they're having these conversations and they're being lulled to sleep, they tend to talk a lot. They divulge a lot. And I think it's a man's natural ego to want to impress the woman.
Okay.
These things are not good ideas. Well, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work for a top global tech firm in the United States, and at home, I got the Chrysler 300 with the Hemi, and I got a Cadillac Escalade truck, and it's a man's ego to want to impress the woman and tell you all the things that you do, and really your representatives out here showing you that you're the best man that you can be for this beautiful woman standing in front of you. That's good, kind of, sort of in the US, and even in the US, that's not a good idea, right? Because the jump out boys can come for you at any time. That happens all the time in the US.
Yeah, we learned that early, so. Right.
You can't go to Queensbridge Projects if you're from the Hamptons, trying to take this girl out or whatever, jump out boys gonna come get you. So you really want to travel subtle. You want to travel with humility. You want to do a lot of vetting before you claim this woman. The last thing that I'm going to say is this. It was a gentleman, I think I told you this story. He's married, told his wife he had a work trip, traveled to Colombia to meet a woman he met on an international dating site. The woman is single. Her ex-husband didn't see it that way, right? So she was already having trouble with her ex-husband. Did I tell you that story? She's already having trouble. It's like I can't remember the rapper's name. Similar to that situation.
Oh, yeah.
But that was her ex-husband. The divorce was final in that country. Didn't appreciate that his woman, in his mind, he left her for an American.
Okay.
Right? He was insulted by that. And he killed that man.
Yes.
Now, should the man been cheating on his wife? No. But that is besides the point.
Yeah.
Right? As far as I'm concerned, cheating does not result in execution, right? He doesn't deserve to die because he cheated on his wife. I think there were a lot of insensitive comments on that post, because he could have very well been single. He would have still gotten killed by the ex-husband.
All right, so I'm gonna just roll off on that point, and since you brought it up, Just remember, I brought it up earlier, but we're gonna go back in on it. Remember, when you travel around the world, go where you're treated best, but understand you're still a black man. I'm talking to the men, still a black man. So it's a lot of
They weren't black, though. I just want to make that clear. This couple in particular that traveled to Colombia, he was a
Okay.
white Latino. His wife is just white,
okay. well,
and the
then-
girlfriend was Colombian. Now her ex-husband was a black man. He's a black Colombian.
Okay, what's in it? So
So
you
left
threw
me for a
you
white
threw the whole
American.
story off. You brought something up
But yes,
it didn't matter what we was trying to say. But okay,
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're a black man.
Mhm.
People don't like to see you doing well out here in these other countries. They think you're rich. You're from the United States. So nobody's gonna really, like I said before, nobody really appreciates you coming and taking their women. Dealing with their women. So just keep that in mind as you move around the world. Keep it in mind, right? You come over here, you shine, and people think you look good. They think you're an athlete, an entertainer, a rapper, or some NFL player, and all this stuff. So there's going to be a level of hatred for you. And I'm not saying if it's going to get violent, if it's just going to be hatred with people side eyeing you and all that, but just know. You're a black man, there's always gonna be hatred from you. You never know where you go, where it might be less hatred than the United States or whatever country you're from, but the hatred is there, right? You're going and you're messing with other people's women, divorced women, he still feel like this is her one and his woman and all, because you go to these other places, people are very what do you call it? Possessive of the women, right? Like you say, it's divorced, it's gone, but hey, now you done moved in here, you think it's okay, but it's not okay. And you don't know. So be careful. Just be, as they call it, cautious as you move around the world and you're dealing with different people. I always say move around, as far as business and investing, and then things can happen organically. But if your sole mission is to go meet women of different countries, you may run into problems. And so we talk about these problems. We're going to bring this up: safety, safety for the women who move around in some of these cities and things. And I talk about this before I bring it up. I don't want to stay too long with you guys, but people on shoestring budgets because they find themselves in questionable neighborhoods in these cities, right? You're going to Mexico City, Bogota, Buenos Aires, Rio de Janeiro. Where else are we going? Where else are people
Lots of
going?
cities.
Yeah.
Colombia,
San Jose, Medellin. So you get in these
Costa
places.
Rica.
Yeah, San Jose, Costa Rica, Medellin, Panama City, Panama. You get to these places that are very nice cities, and you might seem like, oh, this is a nice neighborhood. It looks nice. They got a nice accommodation and stuff like that, but you don't really know the lay of the land. And you don't know that you may be in a sketchy area. And like I said, as a woman, you'll be preyed on in a different fashion, right? And as a man, you'll be preyed on in another fashion. But bottom line is, if you're in the wrong place and you get caught slipping, you're gonna get preyed upon. Right? And this isn't to discourage people from traveling, it's for people to know when they're making their moves, chess moves, make your proper chess move. Okay, I shouldn't go there because that's a problem, right? Or I need to, and that's why I said you need to build up a network so you can talk to people who can give you the real information of where you should be, you could be, and people you can talk to and build up stuff. So, that's what we try to do. We try to build a network. You guys coming down here to Mexico City, hit us up because we got that lay of the land. Don't just go anywhere in Mexico City, not knowing anybody, and just asking the first person, like she said, that fast talking.
Right. And I think there's something weird about when people travel, they're already traveling with their guard down. Like I noticed when you have more of your guard up, moving around your neighborhood and doing your day-to-day stuff than you would when you travel to a place you've never been. There's like a vacation vibe that takes over you or something like that. And these are the things that we want to bring to your attention, especially if you don't travel often. If you're like, oh, I'm going to get started traveling, I've just retired, or I'm on my way to retiring and I want to get that second home in this beautiful country, whatever country it is, whether they speak English or not, because people have a tendency to let their guard down in English speaking countries.
Yeah.
You think because you're in a country where I do understand what you're saying, that people aren't going to try to run game on you. That's not true. Right? Poverty mindset is across the board. Right? Whether it is the worst neighborhood in the Bronx or the worst neighborhood in Colombia, it's the same mindset, it's the same mentality. They're going to try to run the same type of gambit on you.
Right. And understand the poverty mindset. We brought this up. When we say poverty mindset, I'm just going to bring the numbers up. We told you about $4,200 has you in the top 50 percentile in the world. That's $4,200, right? So you top 50 percentile. So when you show up with whatever that you have, you are top tier. You're the top tier wealthy people in the world. And they recognize that. But I think that because so many people live in the United States for so long, they don't recognize the level of wealth they have when they go somewhere. And so you don't know that people might be watching you like that. You know, this is pocket watchers, but we're talking about the dangerous level of pocket watchers now, where, you know, they'll lull you to sleep, rob you, drug you. All of a sudden, young man, 29 years old, should not be dropping dead. I mean, that doesn't even make sense, right? And they can't get any answers. And to add insult to injury, they extorted his mother to get his body back home. So, you know, it's real out here. That's why I said today, unfortunately, we had to bring you the ugly. You know, but we'll run it back and we'll bring you the good and all the you know, the stuff that you can, you know, benefit from. But you know, but like I said, we just keep it real with you. That's the ugly. We're not trying to cover it up and say this is a paradise or anywhere going out here. We just wanted to give you some game on that, give you some information on that, brother, man. You know, we hate to see that, but we do see it often. It's me far too often, but we'll talk about it. We always talk about it. We see some more, and you know, that's what we're here to do. Try to bring some information. Sorry, this was kind of an off-key show. We didn't really get to talk about Bitcoin and stuff like that. But the major, I think, thing to bring away is safety is paramount, and it's part of your wealth building process. So make sure that you're always safe. We got some other shows coming up. We're going to talk about health is wealth. Okay. Health is wealth. What else show you? You had a show that you were talking about.
I had a few shows I've been working on, like Bitcoin and Zero, Bitcoin and the Void. They're a bit more Aquarian and abstract. So they're taking longer to put together so I can fluidly present the information. But we're also no way in any shape, form, or fashion discouraging travel for companionship. Right. So we're not discouraging that. We're telling you the best ways to go about it and things not to do in order to have the most successful travel experience. So I do want to make that clear, because I don't want anybody watching the show then we have an issue with passport bros. We don't.
I like
you guys, y'all are young men. Y'all need to be safe. And some of the ways you want to go about doing it, we're just saying the reality of it is you need to be a little bit more low key when doing it. And like he said, to have that buddy system in place. If you're not traveling with a friend, some men think, I'm a grown man, I don't need to check in with anybody. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Right? And have a solid check-in process so that if you miss that check-in date and time, it sets the flags off. I need to figure out what's going on with you. And like you said, you may not, you know, have been like murdered and buried in somebody's backyard, but you can simply just be under the weather and can't leave the house. And maybe I need to fly out there and just kind of help you a little bit until you feel better, and then I can go home. In some of these countries, in this country in particular, water is something you have to buy from the store. It comes in a 20-liter Garrafon, I can't remember, but the water cooler, right? For those of you who know, that's Spanish stuff. It's the water cooler in the United States, right? That thing's heavy as hell. If you're already sick, do you have a car? Can you hop in the Uber and get it? Can you carry it up 5 flights of stairs? Because if you live in an apartment building in Mexico City, you might not have elevators. You might only have stairs. So little stuff like that. Can you make it to 7-Eleven at the corner to get some water? Sometimes when you get the stomach flu because you ate some bad street food or whatever, you're not ambulatory. You are in that bed. You cannot get up. You can't walk, and you can't leave your toilet.
Yeah, I'll tell the story. You know, I guess I'm gonna keep you long, so we're here anyway. When we first moved to Costa Rica, the first few days I got there, I had the person who met me, who I rented the house from, pick me up and he was taking me around to get stuff. But he had to go back to the United States, and I said, so I was there by myself. He showed me what I could do, where I could go, and for some real reason, I got an ear infection, and we lived on a mountain. And I couldn't walk down the mountain. I was like, my stability was off and all that. So I was stuck up on the mountain for 3 days, 4 days. And this is back in like what, 2013. So it was no Uber Eats or nothing like that I could call. And I was just stuck up there. And whatever I had is what I had. And I couldn't do anything. And it took me like 3 or 4 days to get better. And then I could walk down the mountain and then go catch a cab at the bottom of the road. Right. You know, so what she's saying is right. You know, you have a buddy says, she knew I was sick and all that, you know, so she knew I was okay. It's like, you just can't go get no food. I couldn't walk down.
Well, we were waiting on, at the time, Junior was a baby, and the emergency passport isn't so emergency when he's a brand new baby. So I'm waiting for Junior's passport, but I was getting anxious because I'm like, maybe I should just leave them here and then go there and be with him. And then when he's better, go back. And he's like, that's too much. Yeah. Right. It's an ear infection. If I was a little bit more. We had some apples on the tree that I was eating because I couldn't go get food. So I was just eating. I was picking the apples off the tree and eating them. And then I go lay back down. Yeah. So I've never had an ear infection. And we had FaceTime back then. So like, I'm looking at your eyes. I'm looking at, are you okay? The electricity's out twice a day because of the rain. It was rainy season. Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and that was way back when we were not seasoned travelers. Yeah, my baby didn't have a passport yet. I was waiting on it. And like I said, I couldn't get the passport in 2 days like I could for myself or my oldest son. Yeah. So like I was getting anxious and angsty because I didn't know, he said it was an ear infection, but like, do we know it's an ear infection?
I just know my equilibrium was off. So I was kind of shaky. But like she said, would you say buddy system?
Buddy system.
That's huge. If you're going to travel out here by yourself, even if you go with 2 or 3 people, buddy system. Have people know where you are at so they can call and check in on you in case something happens. Like have people know. Have people on hey, I'm going to be here. I'm staying at this Airbnb, or I'm going to be at this hotel. I'm going to be in this city. Like let people know so that they can check on you because things are happening and there's time gaps in the period of where we have a problem and say, well, nobody knew what was going on. So buddy system.
Now, when you travel, they do require an emergency contact. So you need to set that emergency contact to be an actual emergency contact. Or else they're going to have a hard time figuring out who they need to contact if it turns into an international incident. Yeah. If had his friends not been with him, I don't know how long it would have taken for his mother to find out. They dragged him into an alley. They didn't take him to the hospital. They took him to the morgue. Body would just stay there until whenever they were going to do whatever they were going to do with it. They weren't really trying to be cooperative. I'm concerned that this is something that happens more often than it should.
Yeah, and Rosarita, I'm not real familiar with Rosarita. I've heard about it. I heard people go there. It's a smaller city. So when you get in these smaller cities, you might have probably more problems. The larger cities, not as many problems, but not as cheap as far as accommodations and food. So you have to make decisions right there on that.
But I feel like they were all working in concert with each other is my point.
Yeah.
Why did the morgue come from? Why didn't you take them to the hospital? How did the morgue know I'm asking a lot of questions that you guys look like you have this set up just in case this happens. You're not giving out footage. But I don't know if the young ladies worked at the bar. They never said that.
Well, I'm glad that his friends were there so that we have the story. Because if they weren't there, we wouldn't even probably know.
Or we would have found out.
We wouldn't know where he was at. But these are the perils of traveling, especially if you're going out there and just simply going to party and chase after whatever.
Now, in
significant
his
amount of
defense,
women.
he was just on vacation. It was Labor Day weekend. They probably just planned to go to Mexico Labor Day weekend. He's a university student.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, right, it wasn't even
Mhm.
like I'm traveling to find a woman. I was at the bar having a drink and these women approached us, which is what I'm sure happened.
Okay, yep. I mean, just you got to be careful out here. You just got to be careful, guys, when you go out here
Don't
and you're
accept
moving
drinks from
around.
strangers.
Women, you got to be careful. It's like it's kind of weird because it's two different things,
Right.
but it's still danger on both ends as you go out here. So just be careful. I mean, we recommend going out here to other countries and finding stuff and planting flags and investing and opening up bank accounts. We recommend all that stuff. But some of this stuff that goes on that we're not really privy to because it's not something that we do. Like I said, we just wanted to speak on it, but I don't know. We don't go out. We're in the house. We old people. We go to bed by 8, 9 o'clock at night. Then we old people. I'm gonna be up.
But we up early.
Yeah, I'm up at 4 a.m. So yeah, I don't know about going out late and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know it from experience, but I'm saying just be safe in your movements.
But the drugging of the men is on the rise, right?
Yeah,
and people are used to hearing women being date raped, date drugs, this, that, that, and the third. And I think what's happening now is there's a lot more coverage on men being drugged and robbed. And the thing is, if a man is drugged and robbed, a lot of times he's not going to tell anybody because that's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
Where the women are used to, this happened to me. They're used to telling their story. They're used to, men will go into a shell and not tell anybody that happened to them.
Yes, indeed.
Until it's reported by the news or something like that. So that's on the rise, and that's what we're saying when you're in these, I'm going to say densely populated spaces, bars, pubs, restaurant bars, where the restaurant's not that big, but there is a bar or whatever. It's communal, people are talking, it's dark. And the people who are drugging people, it's sleight of hand. Right? I look like I fixed my cufflink, I dropped something in your drink, Dad. Right? So like, these are the little things I told you guys about the gentleman who went to the Dominican Republic. The minute he walked in if this is a new face, I know he's probably American. So 3 or 4 women are going to swarm him. And they're all willing to work together in order to see what they can get. But they're not even fighting each other off. Like, we can all get paid tonight. But you don't understand what else is associated with that. And those are the things that somebody's husband upset about it. Are they leading you into an alley where they're gonna take it from you, right? Or is it we're gonna go quietly, we're gonna do what we're gonna do, and I'm just gonna take your stuff. You're gonna wake up in the morning with no shoes, no wallet, no passport, no TV.
You got a problem.
No watch.
So yeah, we just wanted to say, we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. We just wanted to say safety is paramount. Make sure when you move around, you have safety, caution, as they say, cuidado. And so, that's what it was.
Check in with your people.
Check in with your people.
Solid check-ins, like set up a system.
Solid check-ins. I don't know, it depends on what age you are as you're moving around, whether you got to check in with your parents, significant others, brothers, sisters, cousins. You got to check in. Make sure you check in if you're going to be out here for a long period of time, but even a short period of time, even a weekend, because that was a weekend that he got that went wrong there. So I mean, be able to call in and check in with people. If you're a type of person like me, like I'm a low key dude. If I got missing. I don't know, somebody gonna check in with me from another level, like my mom or something like that. But my kids and my wife be like, hey, where dad at? Where dad at? So they gonna check in. They gonna be checking in on me, man. So have somebody check in on you.
And tell people about your plans. Don't be ashamed to tell somebody, hey, there's this restaurant I'm going to tonight. It's called yada, 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 because those are little, especially when you're doing international travel. Those are little things. I know that people have these weird ways of, I'm grown, I shouldn't have to tell you where I'm going. When he leaves the house, he says, I'm going to Soriana, I'm going to Oxo. Oxo's like 7-Eleven. Okay. So I know if you're gone for 4.5 hours, something happened.
And then we can make some calls, right? Something might have happened. So like she said, have your check-ins. For the people, you guys are heavy on social media, check in, like I'm here, you
go to the restaurant, just whoop.
Yeah. So people know they have like a, there's a roadmap of if something happens to you, like, well, what happened? What happened? We can see back. You checked in here, you checked in there, you checked in there. So, safety is paramount. Make sure you're safe as you move around out here because you are from the United States of America and they think that you're wealthy. You have a lot and people will prey on you. So it's just part of the safety as you're moving around. Even if you move as a family, even with her, I don't let her go anywhere by herself. And if I can't go with her, I send my grown son with her, as a safety, safety so that he can take care of her. So, it's just
A buddy system.
it's part of the game, man. When you get out here and you start traveling, it's part of the game. It's not, it's the ugly part of the game. It's the ugly part, like we said, we got to talk about. But,
It's a reality. Take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to see you guys next week. Thank you
Yeah.
for tuning in. If you guys feel to bless that gentleman with the GoFundMe, you can Google it. His name is Maurice Colbert. You should have been able to see it in the article, but his mom spent a lot of money to get his body back, and that those things shouldn't happen, but they do. So we'll see y'all next week.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.